Today we're checking out some of my vintage Jurassic Park and Jurassic World dinosaur figures. I've got all sorts of different types in here. The first and biggest of this collection is this Jurassic Park T-Rex. I believe this is a bull T-Rex, as it was called. It is the JP28. It has very unique coloring. I don't have another T-Rex that has this type of coloring on it. It's really cool. Next up from Jurassic Park, we've got the really bright and colorful Compsognathus. This is a super crazy looking dinosaur, plus it's got a unique feature that when you press on this orange thing, it sticks this, I think it's its tongue out of its mouth. That is super crazy looking, and then you can retract it just like that. Next, also from Jurassic Park, is another giant T-Rex figure with the rubber body and the plastic legs and arms. This figure's getting really old, so you can see the paint starting to wear off. Plus it's made of rubber, so it just doesn't hold up the time as well. But it still looks really cool. And you can use the tail to control the head. Here's another big dinosaur, but this one is a vintage Jurassic World figure. So it's a bit different. It's got a mostly plastic body, but it has a rubber neck and head, and you can use the arm to open and close the jaw. Really cool sound effects. The next vintage figure is this giant Utah Raptor figure from Jurassic Park. Definitely a lot bigger than a lot of my other Raptor figures, and it has some special features too. When you press down underneath its tail, it dips its head down in a chomping action. This figure is a vintage Jurassic World figure, and it's actually a pretty special one because it is a hybrid dinosaur. It looks like a T-Rex, but then you can press this button on its back to open up the spines and reveal them. That's really cool. Right over here is a vintage Jurassic Park Allosaurus figure. This figure is actually a bit smaller than a lot of my other Jurassic World Allosaurus figures, but the cool part about this figure is it has battle damage that you can take off completely. And you can even do it on its leg and its tail too. This is quite a bit different from the new Allosauruses that Jurassic World is releasing now. Right down here, we've got a huge Triceratops figure. This is from Jurassic Park. It's got the battle damage on the side. I think there used to be a piece that fit in there, but I don't have it anymore, sadly. But it's got the camouflage green coloring all over its body, and you can squeeze the stomach to lift up the head. Here is a vintage Jurassic World Ankylosaurus figure. I believe the figure actually has an additional shell. Here we go. You can put it right on top of the dinosaur for additional armor. This is a special edition Ankylosaurus figure. It's really cool. Up next is another old Jurassic Park figure. I believe this one is an adolescent T-Rex. It looks quite a bit younger than a lot of the other big T-Rexes I have, so I think it's a younger version of a T-Rex. But its body's all rubber aside from its legs and its arms, and it does not have any special features, sadly. Here's another really unique looking dinosaur from Jurassic Park. This is the Velociraptorix. It's got a body similar to a velociraptor, but it's got these feathered winged-like things on its arms as well as on its back. And check out that super long snout with all those teeth. And you can actually move its arms and its head by moving its leg back and forth. Right over here is a smaller figure. This is a Jurassic World Pachycephalosaurus figure. It's got the black striping on the top and the yellow body and a little bit of body damage on the side. But for how old this figure is, it still has a pretty cool function where you can wiggle its head, you can move its head up and down in that head-butting action too. Here's another T-Rex figure from Jurassic World. This one is custom colored though. It's got the red and the black coloring with the green underbelly. This figure is actually identical to the hybrid T-Rex with the spikes coming out of its back that we saw earlier. Here's another old Jurassic World figure. This is another Ankylosaurus, but this is the normal version. So we saw that super bright blue and green Ankylosaurus. This is the normal version, which is brown and does not have the additional shell covering on top. All right, I've also got a few vintage human figures in here too from Jurassic Park. I believe that this is the parachute edition of Dr. Ian Malcolm. Looks like he's got the full harnessing system on for jumping out of a plane in a parachute. Next up, we got another old Indominus Rex figure. This is a little tiny one. I believe this one was a Bite and Thrashers. It was called something like that. But you can use its tail to move its head around and open and close its jaw. Over here is another old Jurassic World figure. This is a Ceratosaurus figure. And while the coloring is the same as many of the new ones that Mattel is releasing, the design of the whole body, and especially its face, is very different compared to what's coming out nowadays. Plus, this figure has a button on its side that'll activate sound effects and light up as well. But since it's so old, it no longer works anymore, sadly. From Jurassic Park, we've got a saber-toothed looking kind of creature. I don't remember the name of this figure though, but check out those teeth on the very front of its mouth. That's pretty scary. Looks a lot like a saber-tooth. Here's another human character from Jurassic Park. I actually don't remember the name of this character, but comment down below if you recognize who it is. Come on. Way down here, we've got a baby Triceratops figure from Jurassic Park. This figure actually came in a shell that you opened up to reveal this dinosaur. And the coolest part is that this figure has marble eyes. You don't see that in a lot of new figures nowadays. Speaking of Triceratops, I've got a wild looking one from Jurassic World. This is a hybrid Triceratops, I believe, with a Stegosaurus. It's got gold and some bright blue all over its body, and you can use the tail to move the head around too. Check out all those horns along its head too. That is amazing, and a way lot more than normal Triceratops figures. Next up, we've got another raptor figure, but this one is a Velociraptor from Jurassic World. With this figure, you can move its arms and its legs up and down, but you can't open and close its mouth or move its tail. So Jurassic World figures have really come a long way since they first started releasing these. This is a pretty basic figure. Here's another figure that looks nothing like the new figures that they're releasing for this species. This is a Spinosaurus figure. It's got the green and gray and looks absolutely different from the new Spinosauruses that Mattel is releasing nowadays. This bright figure from Jurassic World, I believe, is an Allosaurus figure, and it's pretty basic, but like that smaller Indominus Rex figure that we saw earlier, you can use its tail to open and close its mouth, and even have it look around too. From Jurassic Park, here is another Triceratops figure, but this one is a lot smaller and might be a baby Triceratops. Plus, when you wiggle the leg on this figure, you can move its head up and down too. And unlike many of the other Jurassic Park figures, this figure is all hard plastic. Next, from Jurassic World is another old Indominus Rex figure, but this figure has the coolest battle damage feature of them all. You can actually open and close the door to reveal the battle damage inside. And that's not all. This figure can open and close its mouth using the tail as well. Up next from Jurassic Park is a vintage T-Rex figure, I believe a baby T-Rex, with a broken leg feature. This is another crazy looking dinosaur from Jurassic Park. This is an Amargospinus. You don't see that many dinosaur figures with this type of coloring nowadays, and it's got some pretty cool features. You can pull the leg, and all the spines on its back and its neck, and even its mouth opens up too. Next up is a giant Jurassic World Dilophosaurus figure. This one even has the battle damage on the side that you can press for sound effects, but it doesn't work anymore, sadly. And it has these giant frills in the front too, which is pretty neat. Next, we've got another Jurassic Park human figure, and I can't remember the name of this figure either, so let me know in the comments if you recognize who this is. Bingo! And here we've got a tiny little Jurassic World T-Rex figure with the green coloring and the tail that controls the neck and the head. Welcome to the Amazing Dinosaurs channel. Today we are checking out a bunch of dinosaur figures that were released as part of the Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom toy line. I've got tons of these dinosaurs, so let's dig in. First up, we've got some new ones that I just bought that we're gonna check out first. The first one is the Indoraptor. So this Indoraptor figure is probably medium sized, not as big as most of the T-Rex figures. It's got the all black body with the gold striping right along the side, just like the movies. And this figure is super posable. You can move basically every joint in its body as you could in real life. You can open the jaw, the neck, the arms, the legs, the tail. It's got 2 joints. It's got some quills on its back and on the top of its head too. And of course, it's got those red eyes. Next up, we've got the Dino DNA Lab Kit with the Dimorphodon. Let's open it up and check it out. All right, here we go. So here is the Dimorphodon. It's gray in color, and then it's got that maroon purplish coloring on the bottom of its wings, and it's pretty adjustable. And we've got the Dino DNA kit. Comes with the slime too. Let's go ahead and put this in. All right, here's the slime, and it goes into the canister. Oops, didn't quite fit. And then you stick this dinosaur skull into the slime. And there you go. It is now on display. Plus, you can actually open up the canister to let the goo slide out of the side. That's pretty cool. And next up, we've got another Dino DNA Lab Kit. This is the Velociraptor pack, so let's open it up and check it out. Here is the Velociraptor. It looks like it is in a sneaking pose, crawling along the ground. It's got a light green color, and it's pretty posable with all its limbs and jaw. And of course, you've got the DNA kit right here. Let's put that slime in. And finally, let's put the skull in. Looks like this kit comes with the same skull. And there we go. Exact same as the other one. It's got the opening on the side to let out the goo. And you can close it back up and put it on display. Next up, we've got the Legacy Collection Extreme Chomping Spinosaurus. This has the dark green body and the iconic red along the spine and the face too. And of course, it's got that chomping action. This is the Thrash and Throw T-Rex. This dinosaur can be controlled by moving its tail all around to control its neck, its head, and its jaw. Right over here, we've got the giant Mosasaurus figure. They've actually come out with a new one since then that has different coloring, but this is the original one for Fallen Kingdom. This one has a lighter blue coloring on the side and the top compared to the newer one, and the white underbelly. And on this figure, the tail actually doesn't move. That's only with the newer Mosasaurus figures. Here we've got the basic figure of the Indoraptor. It has the same awesome coloring as the one we opened up earlier, but the limbs cannot move around as much. As you can see, you can only move them somewhat. You can't move the elbows, you can't move the knees. It's kind of stuck in this crawling, sneaking pose. This is the Action Attack Suchomimus. It's got a bright blue color on the bottom and the sides, and the yellow detailing on the top. And it's got one action button on its back for chomping. Next up is the Rorivore Allosaurus. It's got the gray body with yellow detailing on top, and you can move the arms and the legs, and there's an action button on its back for chomping the jaw. This is the Rorivore Ceratosaurus. It has a light yellow body with the black and red detailing on the top, and the iconic horn right there on its nose. Plus, it's got an action button on its back to chomp the jaw. Right here, we've got a basic figure of the Dilophosaurus. It's got the soft green body with the red frills. And you can open and close the frills and move the limbs a little bit, but they're not very adjustable. This is another basic figure from Jurassic World. This is a Velociraptor with the orange body and the brown top. And just like the Dilophosaurus, the limbs are slightly adjustable, but it's pretty basic. Way down here, we've got an Extreme Chompin' T-Rex. This is part of the Legacy Collection, I believe, and it has the orange body with the light underbelly. It's got the button on the top of its head for chomping. Here's one that I actually haven't shown that much. This is the Tyrannosaurus Rex Anatomy Kit. As you can see, you can take it all apart and check out its insides. See, it's got, I think that might be the stomach, that's the intestines. You can see the muscle of the tail, you can see the bone behind it, and even on its leg that you can take off, you can take this apart and see what's inside. So there you've got the bone, got more muscle. It's pretty cool. This is the Action Attack Carnotaurus. It's got the dark red body, lighter underbelly, and it's almost like a purple color along the top with all those bumps along its spine. And this dinosaur has a jaw snapping action. It's really fast. This dinosaur is the Action Attack Stegosaurus. It has a light blue body with a darker blue along the top, and this figure has a tail swinging action. Next up, we've got the Roarivore Sinoceratops. This dinosaur has some pretty cool patterning along its whole body. I really like that orange right on the top. And this figure has a head shaking action for roaring. This is a pretty big winged dinosaur. This is the Roarivore Pteranodon. This figure has a dark blue body with the red and white wings, and it's got a button on its back for the wing flapping. This is the Legacy Collection Velociraptor with the jumping action. The legs are spring-loaded, so when you press down on its body, it'll actually spring up into the air. And this is a super bright Velociraptor. I love the bright orange on this figure. Next up is the Battle Damage Triceratops. This is a smaller figure. It's green all over its body. It's got a little bit of light brown on the top. And most importantly, it's got the battle damage on the side that you can flip open and closed. Looks like we got a few more Pteranodons in here. First one is a light gray color. It's got some dark blue detailing on the wings and on the face, and it's got a button on its back to flap its wings. And this second Pteranodon is a dark green color with yellow accenting, and just like the other, it has a button on its back for flapping the wings. Here is another basic figure. This is Velociraptor Blue. This figure is about medium sized and it's fairly adjustable, but since it's a basic figure, you only can do so much with the arms and the legs. Over here, we've got the Roarivore Baryonyx. This has a light brown body with a dark blue-gray coloring on top, and the coolest part is this reflective blue right along the top of its head. Plus, this figure has an action button on its back for chomping and roaring. Here is another Baryonyx figure, but this one I believe was actually part of a Lava Surge playset. This one has the bright orange coloring on the top of its nose, while the rest of its body is light brown and dark blue-gray, just like the other one. And of course, it's got the action button on its back for chomping and roaring. Here is the Roarivore Metriacanthosaurus. This has a green-yellow coloring along the side and bottom, with a darker green along the top, and it's got a button on its back for chomping. Right over here is the Roarivore Triceratops. This has a clay red color with the brown detailing along the top, and it's got a button on its back for the roaring. This figure is the Roarivore Ankylosaurus. It has the dark brown underbelly. It's got some green detailing along its shell, and the gray and the white spikes too. And this figure has the button for swinging its tail back and forth. Let's see how many battle damage figures we have in here. I think I found 4. I think that's about it. Let's check them out. This first one is a Pachycephalosaurus, the green body and the orange top, and of course the battle damage right there on the side. Next up, we've got a yellow Velociraptor with brown detailing along the top and the battle damage right on the side that you can open and close. As well as another Velociraptor, looks like Velociraptor Blue with the battle damage on the side. And finally, a green Herrerasaurus with the battle damage on the side and a little bit of orange-brown detailing along the top. We've got tons of Velociraptors in here. Let's check these out. This first one is a blue and gold Velociraptor, and on its head is actually pretty reflective, which is awesome. Then up next, we've got the classic Velociraptor Blue figure, and of course you can open and close its jaw and move many of its limbs around. Then we've got this red Velociraptor and this green Velociraptor. Both have movable limbs, and you can open and close both of their jaws too. Here we've got a few Dilophosauruses. This first one is light green with the yellow and red frills in the front. It's got some brown coloring on its back. And this second Dilophosaurus is a dark brown color with blue detailing on the back, and its frills are white and like a dark green color. Next up, we've got the green Minmi figure. This figure has spikes all over the top of its shell for protective covering. And it looks like we've got a couple more Dimorphodons in here too. This one has the gray and maroon coloring, just like the one we saw earlier at the beginning of the video. And this figure is dark green and has orange and red coloring along its wings. That's pretty cool. I definitely like this coloring better. This, I believe, is a Protoceratops. It's got the light blue coloring with the yellow detailing along the top. Here is another Jumpin' Velociraptor figure. This one is a bright blue coloring, and just like the other Velociraptor figure, you can press down on its body to bend the legs, and then you let go to let it spring up into the air. Next up is the Stygimoloch Stiggy. This figure has the super hard head with the spikes right behind it, and you can move its arms and its legs and its tail too. We've also got a few Gallimimuses in here. This first one is a blue-gray color with darker coloring along the top, and it has adjustable legs, arms, and a neck. This second figure is a bit different. Its coloring is a bit more detailed all over its body, plus it's got an action button on its back to run its legs. And the final one is a light tan Gallimimus with darker brown detailing along the top, and just like the others, you can move the legs, the arms, and the neck. This is the Legacy Collection Pachycephalosaurus, and this figure has the head ramming action. And last but not least is the Proceratosaurus. It's a smaller figure with a dark brown coloring with a lighter underbelly, and it's got that red detailing right along its nose, and you can open and close its jaw and move its arms and legs. Welcome back to the Amazing Dinosaurs channel. Today we are checking out my huge collection of T-Rex figures from Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, and more. And in fact, to start it off, I finally just got the Hammond Collection Tyrannosaurus Rex. So let's open this up first. I'm super excited. All right, here is the Hammond Collection Tyrannosaurus Rex. Let's check out the features of this dinosaur. So right off the bat, I noticed that it is a lot more adjustable than a lot of the other T-Rex figures. Like many of the other Hammond Collection figures, you see that it has many points of articulation. You can adjust the legs, the knees, the ankles, even at the arms, you can bend at the elbow too. You can also twist the torso and the neck, so you can move its whole body back and forth like that. And the tail actually has 2 points of articulation. And let's see the face. So it's got some pretty cool coloring. When you open its mouth up, you see that it actually has these rubbery flaps on the outside, so it feels a lot more lifelike. As well as the tongue is a soft rubber. And the eyes are actually like a marble substance, so it's clear, and then you can see the pupil inside. So the eyeballs aren't just painted on, those are actual like plastic eyes. And detail-wise with the coloring, obviously you can see it is a lot more detailed than the usual T-Rex figures from Jurassic World. The body has a more reflective, a very plasticky looking color to it, whereas the face has a much more matte finish, which I really like. Next up, we've got some huge super colossal T-Rex figures. This is an orange T-Rex with a brown top. All these super colossal T-Rexes are the exact same size, and they all come with the stomach compartment, so you can actually feed them miniature dinosaurs down the throat, and you can empty it out in the stomach compartment at the bottom. The next super colossal figure, I believe, was custom painted a long time ago. This T-Rex is a dark green color with the black detailing on the top. You can see it's even got some battle damage on its neck too, which I think is really cool. None of my other super colossal figures have battle damage like that. And it's got the white underbelly. It actually comes with some sound effects too, that when you open the mouth all the way, it's pretty quiet. But it actually roars too, which is different. I don't think any of my other super colossal figures have roar sound effects built into them. So that's pretty cool. The next super colossal figure is a bright red. This is probably one of the most evil looking super colossal figures that I have. Just look at those white eyes. There's actually no pupils painted in, so I think it makes it look a lot more evil. But check out this custom coloring. It's a super bright red body. Kind of looks like fire in a way. It's got the yellow striping right along the black. This is probably my most unique looking super colossal figure. This one is really cool. And the last super colossal figure that I have is the Jurassic Park Dominion figure. This one came out pretty recently, actually. It's got the dark brown body with the black on the top and the light underbelly. And all in all, it's about the same as the other super colossal figures in terms of movement and articulation. But this is a super cool, darker looking T-Rex, and I'm super excited to see what super colossal figures they come out with next. Next up, we've got a orange T-Rex with battle damage all over its body. Look at those slashes on its tail, its leg, its torso, and some on its nose too. And this T-Rex is very adjustable actually. You can move the neck, you can move the legs and the tail, and it is quite posable. Plus, it's got an action button on the top of its head for the roaring. This is an old Jurassic Park figure. This T-Rex has a light underbelly and a camouflaged green top. That's pretty cool. Like many of the Jurassic Park figures, its body is mostly rubber. It's got hard plastic legs. And with this figure, you can use the tail to swing the head back and forth. Next up, we've got a Jurassic World Tyrannosaurus Rex. This has the classic light brown body with the lighter underbelly and dark brown top, and this T-Rex has a chomping action using the button on its tail. That's a pretty cool motorized function that goes with the sound effects. This one is another old Jurassic Park figure. This is a miniature T-Rex with battle damage on the side. And once again, it's got that soft rubbery body and the hard plastic legs and arms. Way in the back here is another Jurassic Park figure with the rubber body and the hard plastic legs and arms. And this T-Rex actually has a stomach compartment too. So you can actually feed this T-Rex smaller dinosaurs. I think it originally came with a specific thing that you could feed it and it would swallow it all the way down to its stomach. But you can still fit other smaller dinosaurs in here too. Right over here is another Jurassic Park figure. This is actually the same model as the one we just saw, but it is custom colored. Check out that super bright orange head and lighter green on top, and it fades down to a darker green on the bottom. And just like the other one, this has a stomach compartment as well. So you can feed this one miniature dinosaurs. It's got a whole lot of teeth too, and they're very brightly colored. This is another Jurassic World figure, and this one actually has a few different features. First of all, you can see that this figure has a button on its foot that activates stomping sound effects. I think the batteries are out in this figure. But it also has the tail control, so that when you move the tail, it moves its head around, chomps, and it roars too. Here we've got an old Jurassic World figure. This might be one of the oldest Jurassic World figures that I have. And it's very different from many of the other Jurassic World Tyrannosaurus Rexes that I have. You can see that it has a rubberized neck for flexibility, and the main feature on this T-Rex is that you can cock it up into a roaring position, and then when you activate the tail, it swings its head down for chomping. Here is the new Jurassic World Dominion T-Rex. This one also came out pretty recently this year. You can see it's got the darker body with the black and the dark brown on the sides and the lighter underbelly. And this figure has a much bigger neck and head than many of the other T-Rexes that I have, which I find pretty interesting. It's a pretty big difference. And this T-Rex also has the action button for roaring, and you can control its head too. You can hear that the sound effects are kind of messed up, so I'm not sure what happened. I don't know if it's just this figure or if it happened in a lot of the figures, but the sound effects are a little bit broken in this one. Next up, we've got an old Jurassic World figure. This is a smaller T-Rex, a bit smaller than most of the other T-Rexes in here, but it's still got the adjustable arms and legs and its whole body is actually a very hard plastic. This T-Rex has one action button on its back for the chomping and roaring. Here's another T-Rex with the super cool camouflage coloring. It's got the bright green on the sides, and then brown, black, and a little bit of green all over the rest of its body. This T-Rex figure also has the foot stomping action, and I believe there's batteries in this one. So you can hear those stomping sound effects. And just like the other one that had the button on its foot, you can control the tail for roars and for chomps too. Next up is a more recent Jurassic World Tyrannosaurus Rex. This figure actually comes with a head cage that you can place on it and lock it in. And this figure is actually designed to break free from that cage using the action button on its back. Let's check it out. Plus, this figure has a foot stomp action when you twist the tail. Here's another old Jurassic Park figure with the rubber body and the hard plastic legs and arms. The coloring on this figure is a bit more unique. It's got a dark red maroon color with the black spots. And this figure has a function that when you squeeze the stomach, it opens and closes its mouth. And it doesn't work too well anymore because it's super old, but you can see that it used to be able to do that. Right over here, we've got another pretty uniquely colored Tyrannosaurus Rex figure from Jurassic World. This one is dark green with black detailing on the top, and it's got the light underbelly as well. And this figure is pretty posable too. You can move the neck around to look in any direction, you can move the legs and arms and the tail. And it's got the button on the top of its head to open and close its jaws. Now this T-Rex has a pretty unique action. I don't think I have any other figures that do something quite like this. Check it out. When you press this action button on its back, it actually does a tearing action. Twists its neck to the side and backwards as if it's tearing off a huge piece of meat. There's also a second action button to control the tail too. That is pretty cool. I do like how unique this action is. Right down here, we've got a smaller model T-Rex. You can open and close the jaw on this figure. The rest of its limbs are stuck in place though, but I do love the coloring on this one. It's like an orange-red color with black detailing, and it is pretty detailed all throughout its body. Here we've got another old Jurassic World figure, and this is actually a hybrid Tyrannosaurus. I believe it is a hybrid with a Dilophosaurus. You can tell by those huge frills right in front of its face. And on this figure, you can wiggle the tail around to control the mouth and the neck too. Over here is another Jurassic World figure. This figure is light brown on the bottom sides and has the dark brown on the top, and is pretty adjustable just like many of the other T-Rex figures. And of course, you've got the button at the top of its head for opening its jaw. Next up is another model Tyrannosaurus Rex. I can't remember which brand made this one. And like many of the other model T-Rexes that I have, you can open and close the jaw, but the other limbs are stuck in place. And this T-Rex is in a standing roaring pose, it looks like. Here is another old Jurassic World Tyrannosaurus Rex. This one is also a hybrid, as you can see from these spines on its back. T-Rexes definitely don't have those normally. So you can actually hide those spines by pressing it down into the body and then using the action button to have them pop out. Plus, that same button actually operates the jaw too. Next up, we've got a pretty unique looking Tyrannosaurus model. This has the black stripes on the top with an orange-brown on the sides and a lighter underbelly. And on this figure, you actually can't move anything, not even the jaw. I'd say the most prominent feature of this model is the bright eyes. Back here, we've got another Jurassic World figure, but this one is another custom-colored T-Rex. This looks a lot like the super colossal one that I showed you earlier. It's got the bright red, looks kind of like flames, and the black on the top. And check out those eyes too. These don't have pupils either, which makes it look a lot more evil, I think. This is a light green model T-Rex. This one also does not have any movable parts and is actually like a bit softer of plastic than most of the figures that I have. This is the Jurassic World T-Rex with extreme battle damage. Using the action button on its back, you can actually turn the battle damage on and off just with the click of that button. And the rest of the T-Rex is fully posable as well. You can move the neck, you can keep the mouth open, you can adjust the arms, the legs, and the tail too. This is a smaller T-Rex figure. It's got the light brown and dark brown striping. It's got a little battle damage along its side. And this figure is also in a standing roaring pose. This next model T-Rex is a darker green color with black striping and a lighter underbelly. And on this model, you can open and close the jaw. And it's got a mouth full of teeth right there. Next up, another Jurassic World T-Rex. This one is a dark gray brown color with a darker brown on the top and is adjustable just like the other Jurassic World T-Rexes with the legs, the arms, the tail, and the neck too. This model T-Rex is in a standing roar pose and is also a dark green color with a little bit of black striping. It's very subtle throughout its body. It's also got the light underbelly and a bright pink mouth. This is an old Jurassic World figure. I've actually got another one that's pretty similar to it, but with different coloring. Both of these T-Rexes have the battle damage on the side and have adjustable arms and legs. And with both, you can use the tail to control the neck and the jaw. Just a few more left. Here is a pretty uniquely colored Tyrannosaurus Rex. It's got the yellow and green all over its body. You can see all those individual scales, which I think is really cool. And it's got some intricate detailing right along its eyes. It's almost like a crown or something like that. And you can open and close the jaw on this T-Rex too. And we've got a few more smaller T-Rex figures. This first one is a Jurassic World figure. It's a baby T-Rex. It's got an action with its tail used to open and close its jaw. And this other figure, I'm not sure which brand made this one, but it is in a standing roar pose as well. And you can open and close the jaw. And these are the last two T-Rexes of the bin. The first one is a yellow tan color with a darker green and a little bit of gray on the top. And this other T-Rex is the classic brown-orange color. Both of these have articulated tails, so you can actually move them in a bunch of different directions. And you can adjust the legs on both as well, and even open and close the jaws. To the Amazing Dinosaurs channel. Today we are checking out all of my newest figures in my collection. I've got tons of Jurassic World Dominion and other figures, plus I've got some unopened ones that we're gonna check out today. So let's get started. First up is the Jurassic World Dominion Rowdy Roars Dilophosaurus. Let's check it out. Here is the full figure. This is a dark green Dilophosaurus. It's got the frills just like in the movie. I noticed though that one of the sides is not painted. I think that might be a defect in this figure. Well, that's pretty weird to get an uncolored side, but nevertheless, let's still check out the rest of the figure. It's a pretty small figure. You can see that the legs are like dangly. They're very loose, as well as the tail and the frills, because when you press this button at the top of its head, it actually moves around. And let's check out that roaming action. It's interesting, so it walks around a little bit. Doesn't go too far. All you have to do is touch its chin right there, and it'll start walking around. Let's check out this new figure way back here. This is another Jurassic World Dominion figure. This is the Ankylosaurus. Let's check it out. So this figure is pretty different looking than all the other figures that I have. It's got this really long neck, it stands on 4 legs, and it's got the clay red body and the brown top. Plus, this dinosaur has tons of spikes on its body, more so than a lot of the other figures that I have. It's got the row on the top, it's got some on its side. It's really interesting. This figure does not require any batteries. Instead, it just has the tail that you use to control the head, which I really like. This is a really cool way to control dinosaur figures. Next up, we've got a Jurassic World Seats Microrum. Let's check it out. So this is a medium-sized figure. It's a lot smaller than most of the T-Rexes I have, but it's around the same size as the Tarbosaurus and other figures like that. It's got the orange body with the blue detailing on top. This one also has tons of spikes on it as well, but they're smaller spikes. And it's got some green eyes, tons of teeth of different sizes too, which is pretty cool. This figure does not require any batteries as well. It is controlled just by your hand. By moving the tail, you can twist the head back and forth. Plus, there is the button on the tail to open and close the jaw. And next up of the brand new figures to unbox, this is a Jurassic World Dominion Minis set. Let's see what's inside. So in this packaging, it actually has doors that open up to reveal the figures inside. So let's see what's in here. First up is a little itty bitty herbivore, it looks like. I'm not sure what species this is. That's pretty cool. Right next to it, this is a green and brown Triceratops. It's pretty cool. Next one on the bottom, we've got a Baryonyx with a gray and dark blue coloring. Over here's another door. I believe that this one contains a human. All right, so here is Claire, a minifigure. It's fairly detailed for how small it is. You can actually see, can't see it on camera, but she does have a face. They colored that in, so that's pretty cool. And last of all, we've got that Carnotaurus at the top. This is the largest figure in this minis pack. As you can see, it's got the iconic clay red coloring with the black detailing on top and the white underbelly. And even on a figure as small as this, you can still open and close the jaw. Very cool. Next up, this is my newest addition to the Super Colossal collection that I have. This is an Atrociraptor. It's got the iconic gray body with the brown and light brown detailing on the top and sides. And it's pretty adjustable. You can move the wrists, the arms, move the legs and the tail as well. And you can even twist the neck too. Plus, it's got a huge set of teeth. And like many Super Colossal figures, this dinosaur can swallow minifigures, such as this miniature Ankylosaurus. You can put it right in the mouth, eats it up, goes all the way down its throat to its stomach, where you can open it up and retrieve the dinosaur again. That's pretty cool. And on the other side is another Super Colossal figure that I added recently. This is a Giganotosaurus, and it's probably one of the most unique Super Colossal figures that I have. Check out that spine all along its back and on top of its head up here. And the part that I like the most are its teeth. This has some of the most unique looking teeth out of the Super Colossal figures that I have. They're really cool, and they fit together really well like that. It's really cool. Just like the Atrociraptor, this figure is quite adjustable. You can move the wrists, the arms, the legs, the tail. You can open and close the jaw. And of course, this dinosaur can eat miniature dinosaurs as well. Here is a miniature Velociraptor. Let's have the Giganotosaurus eat it up. And then you check out the stomach compartment. And there it is. That's pretty cool. The stomach can hold, I don't know, maybe like 20 miniature dinosaurs or so. Next up, way in the back here, we've got one of my favorite collector's items. This is the Hammond Collection Tyrannosaurus Rex. This T-Rex has some of the most detailed painting out of most of the Jurassic World T-Rexes that I have. Look at all that texture and all the shading, which I think is really cool. Plus, this T-Rex has the most points of articulation out of all the Jurassic World figures that I have. You can move its knees, its ankles, its arms, and its elbows. You can adjust the neck back and forth and up and down. You can see that it has a marbled eye, so it's not just a painted eye like many of the other figures. And in this figure, the mouth is pretty realistic too. It's got a rubberized tongue, and the flaps on the side of its mouth are actually rubberized as well, so they feel and look a lot more realistic. Right up top here, we've got another Jurassic World Dominion Tyrannosaurus Rex. This figure has a much darker body. It's a dark brown on the side with the black on top, and then the lighter underbelly. And it's got a huge head, and it comes with sound effects, as you can hear. Now the sound effects are a little broken on this specific figure. I'm not sure why, it just came that way. But it's still a pretty cool figure. And like many of the other Jurassic World Dominion figures that I've shown you today, you can use the tail to control the front of the head. This, I believe, is a Rajasaurus. It's a smaller figure. It's got a dark brown body with the gray-blue detailing on top, and those interesting spines right on its neck too. Plus, a single horn on the top of its head, much like a Ceratosaurus. This figure has a chomping action that when you press down on its body, it chomps its mouth. Next up, we've got another Tyrannosaurus Rex from Jurassic World. This one has a dark green body. This one is really cool because I don't have another T-Rex figure with this coloring. And it is quite adjustable, just like many of the other typical Jurassic World figures. Move the legs, the arms, and you can move the neck back and forth too. And it's got the button on the top of its head for roaring and chomping. This is a Pteranodon from, I believe, the Amber collection. It's got rubberized wings, so they're really flexible and they feel like real wings. The rest of the body is made of hard plastic, and it's got some pretty cool coloring and detailing all over its body. This is another Tyrannosaurus Rex, but as you can see, it comes with something special. This T-Rex comes with a cage for its face, and when you use the action button on its back, it can actually break free from. And it comes with some pretty cool sound effects too. Plus, on this figure, you can twist the tail back and forth for some stomping action. Here's another gigantic figure. This is a Mosasaurus. This Jurassic Park figure has a darker blue coloring compared to the older Mosasaurus figurine, and it's got these white specks all over its body too. Plus, you can open and close the jaw, you can adjust all the fins, and on this figure you can actually move the tail around too. This is a basic Jurassic World Pteranodon figure. It's a light green color, it's got some yellow detailing on the wings and on the top of its head too. This is an Tyrannosaurus, which I believe is an herbivore. Plus, it comes with a few actions as well when you slide this lever back and forth. So it's got tons of different sound effects, and it moves its head up and down every time you move that slide. Next up, this, I believe, is an Pseudoceratops. It's got those huge horns, much like a bull, kind of, and it's got the dark blue body with the red detailing on top, and some green legs as well. Plus, this figure has two action buttons. The first is for roaring, and the second is for swinging the tail back and forth. Over here is a smaller figure. This is a Monolophosaurus. You can open and close its jaw, you can adjust its neck, and move its arms and its legs too. And it's got some pretty cool coloring too. It's got the tan with the gray detailing on the top. This is an Allosaurus with dark green coloring all over its body, a little bit of a lighter color on its neck, and the white and red detailing on the top of its neck right next to those spikes. This figure also has the action slide lever for different roaring and different sound effects. Right over here, we've got, I believe, a Spinosaurus. This has a light green body with some tan detailing on the top and on the face, and even a little bit of orange on the top as well. It's got some pretty unique horns too, and it's got an action button for roaring. This is an Albertosaurus figure. This has a little bit darker green coloring on its body with orange detailing on its side all the way up to its face. And it's got a pretty interesting texture all over its body. You can see all these bumps. It looks like armor, kind of. Plus, this figure's tail actually controls the head and the jaw, too. Over here, we've got the mighty Quetzalcoatlus. This is a huge winged dinosaur that I'm sure you recognize from the new Jurassic World Dominion movie. And it's got some pretty cool coloring on its face too. It's got the light blue right on the top of that horn thing right there. And it's got some orange on its nose and right next to its eyes. This is an Irritator. This dinosaur has some pretty cool coloring. It's got some light blue right next to some dark blue, and the rest of its body is dark brown and tan on the belly. You can hear tons of sound effects coming from it, which are activated by wiggling the tail around. Next up, we've got another herbivore. I'm actually not sure what species this is, so let me know in the comments below if you recognize this species. It's pretty similar to a Triceratops. It's got tons more horns though, and it's got a huge horn right in the front too. And this figure has a tail that controls its head too, which is pretty awesome. Here is the Rowdy Roars Atrociraptor. It's very similar to the Dilophosaurus that we unboxed at the beginning of this video. This Atrociraptor has the bright orange body with the brown on top, and just like the Dilophosaurus, it's got a button on the top of its head for roaring. And when you touch its chin, it actually walks around. Oh, kind of hard to hold. Next up, we've got, I believe, the Majungasaurus. This has some super bright coloring with blue, yellow, and a dark green, and a lot of yellow on its belly as well. And like many of the other Jurassic World Dominion figures, you can use the tail to control the head. Right over here, we've got a miniature Indominus Rex. This figure has a button on its nose that you can press for roaring sound effects. You can use the tail to open its mouth, and when you touch the tongue, it actually clamps its jaw shut. That's pretty cool. It's as if it's eating my finger. Ah! Next up, we've got the Jurassic World Dominion Yangchuanosaurus. This is a very recent figure. It's got the soft green coloring on the sides, a yellow underbelly, and the brown detailing along the top. But most importantly, it's got those orange frills right on the top of its head. And this figure, of course, can be controlled by its tail. You can move its head around by adjusting the tail, and it's actually got a button to open and close its jaw, too. Next up, we've got the mighty Pentaceratops. This is a huge figure. It's got the tan sides with the gray detailing on the top, and it's got tons of horns on the front of its face too. Plus, this figure actually comes with a face cage, just like the T-Rex that we saw earlier, that it can use to break free. So let's go ahead and put it on and test it out. There we are. It's a little confusing to get on, but once it's on, it looks pretty cool. And here comes the break free function. In just one swipe, it is broken free. That's pretty cool. And there is a second action button to control a side-to-side swinging too. This is the Hammond Collection Baryonyx. It's got some pretty detailed coloring, like many of the Hammond Collection figures, and tons of points of articulation as well. You can move its legs all around, its arms, and its head as well. And I think it's a lot more textured than many of the other Baryonyx figures that I have. You can see all those bumps along its body. You can even see its ribs right there too. This is a Kentrosaurus. It's got tons of spikes all over its body, and it's got an action lever to actually use those spikes on its shoulder too. Those spikes are huge. That is really cool. And it's got the dark brown on top and the tan on the bottom with a lighter tan right along its chest and neck too. Next up is the Therizinosaurus. This figure is pretty big, almost as big as many of the T-Rex figures that I have. Plus, it has the tail that you can use to control the front, and a button on its tail to control chomping. And it's got some massive claws on its hand too, just like in the Jurassic World movie. Here is a miniature Carnotaurus. It's got the iconic clay red coloring with the brown on top, and it's got a few actions too. Button on the top of its head, closes its eyes, and it's got some sound effects too. And there is a button on its tail for chomping. Here is a smaller Carnotaurus figure, but this one is from the new Jurassic World Dominion movie because it has the broken horn on the top of its head. Just like in the movie, this Carnotaurus has a dark green coloring with orange detailing on top and is fairly adjustable too. You can move the legs, the neck, open the jaw, and twist the tail too. Here is another Monolophosaurus. This has a bright green body with darker green detailing on the top. And this Monolophosaurus has an action. When you move the tail, it chomps its jaw shut. Next up is a Jurassic World Dominion Dimetrodon with extreme battle damage on the side. Check that out, you can just turn it on and turn it off with the click of a button. Plus, you can open and close its jaw, twist its neck side to side, and move its legs too. Here are a couple Velociraptor figures. This first one is orange and brown, and it's got a slashing action with its claw, spring-loaded so it swings back and forth. And the second Velociraptor figure is white and dark blue, and this is actually an extreme damage version, so you can click it on and off. This figure is a Tapehara. This is a smaller flying dinosaur, but it's got some pretty unique coloring all over its body. You can see it's got the bright red along its face, it's got some blue and orange, and it has a unique pattern of coloring on its wings too. Plus, it's got an action button right on its body that you can use to flap its wings. This is a Miragaia. This is a pretty unique looking herbivore. It's got those huge spikes on the side of its body, as well as the spikes all along its back and on its tail as well. And it's got a unusually long neck as well. Next up is the Cosmoceratops. Check out that unique pattern of horns all along the top. And of course, it's got the huge horns right next to its eyes too. And this figure has an action that when you pull down the tail, it roars too. All right, we've got a few more Atrociraptors in here. This first one is a tan color, and it's in this sneaking or stalking pose. And this other Atrociraptor is in a standing pose and has the typical gray body with the brown detailing. And on both of them, you can open their jaws too. Next up, we've got another Velociraptor, but this one's a bit different. This one has many more points of articulation than the typical Velociraptor figure has, and it's got some pretty realistic coloring too. It's got the dark green on the sides, the brown on the top, and the light underbelly. That's pretty cool. Pretty realistic, I would say. This is a baby T-Rex. It's a pretty small figure, easily fits into the palm of my hand, and it is bright green in color. Plus, this figure has an action that when you move down the tail, it chomps its jaw shut. Just a few dinosaurs left. This next figure is a Tanystropheus. This dinosaur lives in the water and has a super long neck that you can control by moving the tail up and down. Look at that itty bitty head. This is a Shringosaurus figure. It's another unique looking dinosaur. It's got the super long neck. It's got those two horns on the top of its head and a yellow body with the brown detailing on the top. Next up is what I believe is a Styracosaurus. It's got tons of horns along the front and some unique coloring right there and on the other side too. And the rest of its body is a soft green color with the brown detailing right along the top. Plus, you can move this figure's head up and down by moving the tail. And last of all, we've got the good old Chialingosaurus with the light blue body and the orange right under its belly and its front arms. It's got the little spikes right on its shoulders and the spikes at the end of its tail too. Welcome back to the Amazing Dinosaurs channel. Today we're checking out my collection of the rarest Jurassic Park and Jurassic World figures. First, I just bought some Jurassic Park sets off of eBay. The first one is the Alan Grant with double-barreled bola launcher from the Jurassic Park new series 2. Let's check this out. So there's Dr. Alan Grant. We've got a variety of tools here as well as a little dinosaur. And way up at the top here, you can see that it's some type of claw contraption or something used for trapping dinosaurs, it looks like. Now, I'm not gonna open this up because this is a collectible and I wanna keep it in this condition since it's unopened right now. But I still have another figure from eBay that I just bought that we're gonna check out as well. This is the Compsognathus, or at least I think that's how you pronounce it, codenamed Lasher from Jurassic Park Chaos Effect series. And this dinosaur is super colorful. It's got some light blue-green over its body with the black, it's got some yellow, it's got some orange, It's got blue right on its nose. So this will be super cool to add to my collection too. And as you can see, it is a combination dinosaur of a Compsognathus, a Stegosaurus, and an African tree frog. That is pretty wild. As you'll notice with basically all of these figures are discontinued, so you won't be able to find them new anywhere. You might be able to find them on eBay or something like that. But this first one is a Jurassic Park Allosaurus. And this figure actually has multiple pieces of battle damage that you can completely take off. And this front battle damage actually has multiple layers. You can take off the ribs to see the stomach underneath, and then you can just cover it back up with the skin, just like that. You can also remove the thigh on this dinosaur, see the flesh underneath, as well as on the tail. You can rip off a piece of the tail and see the bone and flesh underneath too. Back here, we've got one of the original Tyrannosaurus Rexes from Jurassic Park. This figure has some pretty unique coloring over its body. It's got the clay red with the black spots and stripes. It's got the lighter underbelly. It originally had sound effects, and its whole body is a soft rubber, which is a common theme with the older figures. Right here, we've got a T-Rex from Jurassic Park: The Lost World. This is the Thrasher Tyrannosaurus Rex, and it also has a soft rubber body aside from the arms and the legs. And with this T-Rex, you can actually wiggle the tail to control the face and the neck. Move it back and forth. Alright, I know you've been keeping your eye on these huge T-Rexes on the side. This super colossal T-Rex is one of a kind, and that is because it is actually custom colored. It's got a light tan body all around. It's got some interesting shadowing and detail all over. It's also got some super dark red eyes and some interestingly colored teeth too. So those are darker teeth than what's normal. So while you may be able to get a super colossal T-Rex, you will not be able to buy one that is this color. Next up for the one-of-a-kind super colossal dinosaurs is this T-Rex. And this has some of the craziest custom coloring out of any figures that I've seen. It looks like a fire T-Rex. Got the bright red over its belly and sides. It's got the glowing orange right next to the black, and then the black top. This is a super cool one-of-a-kind T-Rex. And for our final one-of-a-kind, custom-colored, super colossal dinosaurs is this Velociraptor. This, I think, has some of the best custom coloring out of any figure that I have. It is so detailed and so well done. It's got the black body with these brown stripes, and there's even these little gold specks along its brown stripes as well. My favorite part though are the eyes. These are incredibly detailed. It's like a gold eye, but then it's got red towards the center and then the black pupil. You will not be able to find another super colossal Velociraptor with this coloring anywhere. Here we've got a Jurassic Park Stegosaurus with battle damage right on the shoulder. This figure has a somewhat soft rubber body. The tail is especially rubbery, so you can swing that back and forth with those spikes at the end. And it has a very natural green and brown and light tan coloring all over its body, so it really blends into the jungle. This giant T-Rex, I believe, is the Jurassic Park Lost World Bull Tyrannosaurus Rex. This T-Rex has some pretty unique coloring with this green-blue color on the sides. It's got some light brown on its legs as well as along the top of its body. It's got some marble eyes that are green. And I don't have the piece anymore, unfortunately, but originally it was able to swallow, I think, a cage that had a man inside. So this thing could actually swallow humans or dinosaurs or whatever you want, and you can release it from the stomach right in there. Next up of my rarest figures is this Jurassic Park Lost World Pteranodon that was nicknamed the Steel Beak. This figure's pretty old and fragile now, but it's one of the few figures that has a fabric wing on it, as well as spring-loaded joints for the wings, so it can swing forward and it swings back, just like that. Next up is the Jurassic Park Lost World Parasaurolophus. This figure's in pretty good condition for how old it is. It's got the light tan body with the darker brown stripes along the top, and this figure actually has an action button on its back used for running. Here we've got the original Jurassic Park Triceratops, and this figure has some huge battle damage on its side. You can see some flesh and some bone in it as well. This figure also has the soft rubbery body like many of the super old figures, and it has an action that when you squeeze its stomach, it swings its head upward. Here is a dinosaur figure that, although it's more recent, it's still pretty hard to find and pretty rare. This is an extreme chomping Spinosaurus from Jurassic World. This figure has the dark ground body with the light underbelly and the red spine and face. And of course, it comes with the button at the top of its head for the chomping. Right here is another one of the original Jurassic Park Tyrannosaurus Rexes. This is a smaller figure. It probably only stands about 9 or 10 inches tall. It's got some battle damage on the side, and it has the soft rubbery body all throughout aside from its arms and its legs. This super bright dinosaur, I believe, is from Jurassic Park The Lost World and is actually a Chaos Effect Ankyloraniodon. This figure has some super bright colors, with bright green and the bright purple, plus it's got a super bright orange eye as well. And there's actually a hidden action button on its back used to move its tail. Over here is another more recent figure from Jurassic World, but is still pretty rare and pretty hard to find. This is the hybrid Indominus Rex. It's got the bright red over its body, it's got some gold, and the classic gray color for the Indominus Rex. Plus it has a few action buttons, the first that you press down to stick out its spines, and the second to pull down the arm, and it roars. Check this one out. Here is another discontinued Jurassic World figure. This figure is fairly rare and is actually a hybrid Tyrannosaurus Rex. Check out these spines that pop out on the top of its head and on its back. Plus, another unique feature about this Tyrannosaurus Rex is this unique coloring right along the side of its body. And the action button that springs out the spines also activates the jaw. This is another Chaos Effect dinosaur from Jurassic Park. This is the Velociraptorix, and this dinosaur has some really unique features. What stands out the most to me are these wings right on the Velociraptor's arms. That's super interesting. And it's got these spikes right along the top of its back and its head as well. And this Velociraptorix has an action that when you pull the leg, it swings its arms up and down and its head moves as well. Next up, we've got another figure from Jurassic World. This is a hybrid special edition Ankylosaurus. And the most special part about this figure is that it actually has part of its shell that you can take off to reveal the normal shell underneath. This removable shell is super bright and reflective. It's got some bright green and purple in the spikes as well. And you can just plop it right back on. Next up in my rare figures, we've got the Jurassic Park Amargospinus. I think this figure looks somewhat similar to the unopened figure that we saw at the very beginning of this video. It's got the long neck, it's got the spines all over, and it's got a few action buttons actually that when you move the leg, it actually sticks up its spines on its back, on its neck, and it opens its jaws too. Next up is the Jurassic Park Lost World Chasmosaurus. This figure looks similar to a Triceratops. It's got many of the same features. It's got the horns in the front. And this figure also has an action that when you pull its leg, it moves its head up and down. This is another Jurassic World hybrid figure. This, I believe, is a hybrid between a Stegosaurus and a Triceratops. But it's also got some super bright and unique coloring with the bright blue on its side, the dark blue on its legs, and the gold right along the top and its horns too. Here is another Jurassic World hybrid figure. This is a hybrid between a Tyrannosaurus Rex and a Dilophosaurus. And once again, it's also got some super bright coloring with the bright orange on its sides. It's got some gold along the top too. This is a Jurassic Park Spinosaurus, and let me tell you, I think it looks a lot different than the Spinosauruses that Jurassic World is releasing now. But it's still got the huge spine along its back, of course, and it has some pretty bright coloring. It's got the bright green along its body with the gray as well. Next up is a fairly large figure from Jurassic Park. This is a Utah Raptor. It's got the orange body with the black detailing along the top and the lighter underbelly. And a nice detail on this figure is that you can actually move the claw up and down on its feet. Over here, we've got a few Jurassic Park Baryonyx figures. These are quite a bit different than the new Jurassic World Baryonyxes that are being released now. Their bodies are a lot more thin, they've got shorter legs, and it looks like they've got longer necks too. Next up, we've got two Velociraptors from Jurassic Park with different features. This first one is a lot smaller, and you can move the arms and the legs, but there's no action button. But on this second Velociraptor figure, there's an action button that when you move the leg, you can hear a sound effect. It's really quiet, so you probably can't hear it on the camera. But its head also used to move up and down as well. Here are some other interesting dinosaurs from Jurassic World. This is a Dilophosaurus with battle damage on the side, and it is super brightly colored. We've also got a smaller Spinosaurus with battle damage on the side that you can control by moving the tail around too. And for the last two dinosaurs of my rare collection, first we've got a Jurassic Park baby T-Rex with a broken leg feature. And we've also got this, I think it might be a Baryonyx, it might be an Allosaurus, it's kind of hard to tell, but it's from Jurassic World, and it's got the battle damage on the side, and the tail controls the head too. Welcome back to the Amazing Dinosaur channel. Today we are checking out a bunch of awesome dinosaurs like T-Rexes, Spinosauruses, and Indominus Rexes from a bunch of different brands including Mattel, Hasbro, and more. And I've even got some brand new ones. Let's start with this brand new dinosaur figure. All right, World of Giants Dinosaur. Let's open this up and see what it is. Can you guess what type of dinosaur it is? All right, check it out. It's an Indominus Rex model. That is so cool. Look at the realistic coloring and all the texture and detail along its body. It's got the spikes on the top, the huge claws on its hands, and look at those teeth too. And you can open and close the jaw as well. This is a super cool model Indominus Rex. Let's check out our other Indominus Rex figures in here. All right, this first one. This is from the old Jurassic World line. I think it's made by Hasbro. Let's check it out. So this figure is pretty big. I'd say it's maybe 2 feet from head to tail. The whole neck and head is made out of rubber, which is really interesting. And when you move the arms up and down, let's see what it does. It opens and shuts the jaw for the roar. That's so cool. Check out those teeth too. This is a pretty cool figure and a classic one. All right, our next Indominus Rex figure. This, I believe, is by Mattel, and this is a battle damage Indominus Rex. There we go. That's awesome. Check out that battle damage on both sides. And this Indominus Rex has a button on the tail that you can use to chomp. That is so awesome. This figure is huge. All right, here's one more Indominus Rex. This is a smaller version, and this is an older one from the old Jurassic World line, so I think it might be made by Hasbro. But check that out. This also has battle damage that you can open and close. How cool is that? Check out those teeth. Look at those eyes. And the tail controls the chomping action too. That is awesome. All right, let's check out some T-Rexes. This is a T-Rex with battle damage. Oh, that's awesome. This figure is made by Mattel, and it is a fully posable dinosaur figure. That is so cool. You can move the neck and open and shut the jaw too. Let's check out some more T-Rexes. Right up front here, we've got the great T-Rex from the old Jurassic World line. Let's see what this figure does. So when you press its tail, it'll go like that. And now it's in a roaring position. Ready for it to chomp down? Here we go. Ready and go. Oh, that's so cool. This is a great figure. All right, next up, we've got a dark brown T-Rex made by Mattel. And this T-Rex has two actions. The first is a chomping action. Look at that, it's like a tearing chomp. That's so cool. And the second action is with the tail. You can sweep it back and forth. That's super awesome. And once again, a huge dinosaur figure. Ooh, look at this red and spotted black T-Rex. This is an old figure. This is from the original Jurassic Park toy line. I believe it's made by Hasbro. And this T-Rex, the whole body is covered in rubber, so its skin is actually really soft everywhere, which is different from a lot of the other toys. And it doesn't work quite as well anymore, but when you press on the stomach, it'll open and shut its jaw. It's an old toy, so it may not work the same as it used to, but this is still a really cool figure to have in my collection. All right, another big T-Rex in the back here. This is a light brown T-Rex. This is from the Camp Cretaceous line made by Mattel. This dinosaur has the chomping button on its tail, and you can also move the tail to move its neck up and down and back and forth. I really like how realistic the movements of this T-Rex are. This is so cool. All right, we've still got a lot more T-Rexes in here. This is actually one that I just bought. Let's check it out. This is a model T-Rex that I bought on Amazon. And look at the detail in the coloring and the texture too. That is so cool. Now, the arms and legs don't move on this dinosaur, but the jaw does open and close still. Look how detailed that is. I think that might be more detailed than Mattel's toys. That is super awesome. Let's see if we can find any more T-Rexes in here. Yep, here's some more. This is another classic T-Rex figure from the Jurassic Park toy line from a long time ago. This T-Rex has some battle damage on the side. And once again, the whole body is made out of rubber. So it's very soft. All right, here's a few more T-Rexes. And look, they're all different colors too. This one is made by Mojo. I'm actually not sure what brands made these ones, but these are all model T-Rexes, so these are more for on display. It looks like only the center T-Rex can open and shut its mouth. The other two are frozen in their roars. But I love the coloring on each of these. These are pretty realistic, I do have to say. And I love the orange-red coloring on this T-Rex too. That is pretty awesome. Right over here in the back, from Mattel, is the great Spinosaurus. This dinosaur has tons of teeth in its mouth, and the coloring in this dinosaur is super cool. It's got the light brown and a lighter stripe all the way to its head, and then the darker brown, and then the red, super bright red on its spine and on its face too. That is so awesome. And it's got the action button on its head for roaring. Right over here, we've got a very different looking Spinosaurus figure. I think this Spinosaurus figure might be from the Schleich brand. And this figure doesn't have any moving parts, so it's stuck in this pose, and it actually looks like it's swimming, because Spinosauruses did actually swim in the water for hunting. But I love the color design on this. That is super cool. Up next, we've got a giant Stegosaurus. And it's from the old Jurassic Park toy line. This dinosaur also feels a bit rubbery on the outside. It's softer than the Mattel dinosaurs. And especially this tail right here is super flexible, so that when you pull on this, it'll swing the tail back and forth. Watch out for those spikes. And we've got another Stegosaurus, a smaller model. So this one does not have moving body parts. You can't swing the tail, but it is still a great collectible to put on my shelf. I just love the bright colors on these dinosaurs. I see a new dinosaur right here. Let's see what type it is. All right, it is a Velociraptor. This figure is from the Ahupoi brand. I believe that's how you pronounce it. But once again, awesome coloring. I love the bright blue and of course the red eyes. Let's see what other Velociraptors we've gotten here. Here's two. This Velociraptor is from the old Jurassic Park line by Hasbro. The only body parts you can move on this one are the arms. And on this Velociraptor, this is from the old Jurassic Park line, I think also by Hasbro. So this toy is pretty old. And it's got a chomping action too. How cool is that? All right, we've still got some more Velociraptors in here. All right, here is a Velociraptor made by Mattel. So this is a newer Velociraptor figure. It's gray with a dark blue color on top, and you can open and shut the jaws. And that is pretty cool. And we've also got these other two. Oh, you know what? This is a Dilophosaurus. We'll save that guy for later. But this is a Velociraptor. And I actually don't have any other Velociraptors with this type of coloring. And you can see on its arms that it's actually got a little bit of feathers on there, which is super interesting. Oh, I'm still seeing some Velociraptors. Let's grab some more. All right. Here is an old Jurassic Park Velociraptor. This Velociraptor figure is super old. I'm not even sure when it was made, but because it has the JP tattoo, you know that it's pretty old. And here's those other Velociraptors. Another classic Velociraptor figure right here with the chomping action. This Velociraptor figure might be made by Schleich, I'm not actually sure, but the body parts don't move on this one. But you can still see a lot more detail than a lot of the other figures on this. Look at that texture too, that is so cool. And of course, we've got another Mattel Velociraptor. Fully movable legs, arms, neck, and jaw. And this dinosaur has battle damage too, that you can open and close. Up next, we've got a giant Triceratops. This is a Jurassic Park figure, so this figure is pretty old, made by Hasbro a long time ago. And like the other older figures that we saw, it has a rubber body, and when you squeeze the stomach, it roars. Oh, right over here, we've got a brand new Triceratops. Let's check it out. This Triceratops is made by Gemini and Genius, and it doesn't have any moving parts, but once again, these models always have a lot more detail with the texture and the coloring. Just look at the shading in that, and the bright red on top. That is so awesome. I see some brightly colored dinosaurs in here. Let's check out what these are. All right, these are all Dilophosauruses. This one was made by Mattel, and this figure specifically is a bit smaller, but it's still got those bright colors. This one is actually from Toys R Us a long time ago, but it's still got that super bright and colorful frill. And this Dilophosaurus is super brightly colored and is from the old Jurassic World line. That is so awesome. I love these bright colors. Oh, here's a few more Dilophosauruses. Let's check these out. I think this small one is made by Mattel again. And I'm actually not sure what brand these are. They aren't Mattel or Hasbro, but they're still pretty cool action figures. You can move the arms and legs and the necks, and that is pretty awesome. Both of them super brightly colored. All right, let's see what dinosaur is next. Oh, we've got a Ceratosaurus by Mattel right here. And check it out. There's an action button on the top that slides back and forth. Wow, that is an awesome roar. Plus, it's got this really cool bright red coloring all along its head and back. And I think we've got some brand new Ceratosauruses too. This is a Ceratosaurus by Schleich, and this is a Ceratosaurus by Papo. These are both model figures, so not as many body parts move, but both their jaws open up, and they both have awesome and super detailed coloring. All right, our last dinosaur species of this collection. It is one of my favorite dinosaurs, the Carnotaurus. This figure is made by Mattel, and it has pretty detailed coloring, plus it's got two actions. There's a button for the roar, and also if you move the tail, it controls his head in a real lifelike way. Let's check out these smaller Carnotaurus figures. I'm not sure of the brands of all of these, but they're quite a bit different from each other. This one has huge spikes, and it actually has a soft texture on the outside. It's like a soft rubber. And the jaw opens and closes as well. Still got those huge horns on the top. And this figure is a little bit smaller, and it's more of a hard plastic. And on this Carnotaurus too, the jaw opens and closes for the roar. That is so epic. And here are our final two Carnotauruses. This big one is a super bright orange with green spots and white spikes along the top, and even purple around its eyes. How interesting is that? And this smaller Carnotaurus is a much more natural coloring. It's a dark gray, it's got the red underneath its throat, and you can even see the eyes. Look at that attention to detail. Want to see more dino videos? Click the subscribe button now.